Hey guys, this is part B for Practical 5A with Michelle Smith. My student number is AIPC 022699. Joseph Fonte is my name. I'll just quickly go through all the sections required. So for my counselling notes, I've got client name Michelle Smith. Session was number 4. The goals I've written down to focus on Michelle's goals and strengths in order to improve her time management skills. The topics discussed and outcomes. We explored the miracle question together. Then Michelle described her response as being characterized as being met by a clean house upon waking up with a vase of daffodils blooming on the table, where she feels centered, calm, and not rushed, where she feels content. We then explored exception questions together and what she had done differently in the past. And we explored the accuracy and evidence attached to her beliefs and thoughts that she was a bad student. We also came up with a more realistic statement to describe her situation using cognitive restructuring, which were I'm trying my best and I'm an okay student. And I acknowledged Michelle's commitment and vulnerability, and then we set a homework task. Under interventions and strategies, I've written using miracle question to visualize desired outcome, use exception questions to show Michelle she has capacity to achieve her goals, and challenged her beliefs that she was a bad student. And under next session, I've written check in to see what Michelle has written in her diary about her week and how she's been going when she replaces negative thoughts with more realistic ones. Under the next section, the question is asked, what are your reasons for using each techniques at that point during the session? And the next question is asked, what impacts did you think the technique would have? So for each technique, I have answered both of these two questions together because they're very closely related. So for the miracle question, my reason for using that technique at that point during the session was I did it early on because I thought that it was really important to establish her ideal situation at the start so that we could then work together to kind of strategize ways in which we could get there. And I knew that would take quite a bit of time. So I wanted to kind of open up that vision earlier on. And the impact that I thought it would have was to help Michelle envision what her ideal situation might look like. So we might strategize a way in order to get closer to that reality. Yeah. For the exception question, my reason for using that technique straight after the miracle question was to show Michelle her capacity and ability towards moving towards that reality. And that was the impact that I hope that technique would have as well, that she would be able to actually move towards this reality which she so desired. Cognitive restructuring was another technique that I utilized, and my reason for utilizing this technique at that point in the session was, I thought it was important to use it after the exception questions, precisely to kind of stave off any self-doubt or negative thoughts about her capacity, and in doing so, kind of keep strong and true what we had built together without it kind of crumbling because of negative thoughts kind of creeping in. And again, that was the impact that I thought the technique would have. That's why I used it at that time for that reason. And finally, the homework task was another selected technique, which was basically cognitive restructuring, but utilizing it outside of the session. And the reason for using it at that point in the session was to give Michelle something to work on outside of our session, and that would basically carry the motifs of the counselling session into her daily life. And the impact that I thought that technique would have was to allow her to kind of connect with the energy and the learnings of the counselling session outside of the room. So carry these ideas that she wasn't a bad student, rather that she was trying her best outside of the counselling session, where I think it would be really important to do that. The final question is, do you think there are limitations to applying solution-focused techniques with Michelle? And I just wrote quite simply no. I think that she had really good capacity in all regards. She struck me as a very capable person. Finally, we have 4 more questions. So, what went well? I thought the fact that we gained clarity into Michelle's ideal way of being went well. The fact that we reflected her strengths, I reflected her strengths and goals back to her was really good. The fact that I was able to reframe her negative beliefs about herself, I thought was also really important. And I also thought it was great that Michelle seemed quite interested to implement what we had spoken about in her daily life outside of the counselling session. What didn't work? Similar to the previous video I uploaded with Claire, I think it was just difficult for me to engage fully in the use of these techniques, specifically, SFT and CBT, just because I'm not used to using them. But having said that, I really saw the benefits of using these techniques that are a bit more structured, and I actually really look forward to implementing them in my practice. What should you have done differently? Just again, I don't think there was anything specifically in the video, but just getting used to the idea of having solution-focused therapy and CBT there at my fingertips to kind of draw upon, as opposed to not having them there. That's something that I will do differently moving forward in the future. And how we develop these, I think it's just by practice, by utilizing them more and more in sessions with clients. So that's all. That's all for this section. Thank you for your time. Cheers.